Thanks for tuning in to Ag PhD. I'm Darren Hefty.
And I'm Brian Hefty. Thanks for joining us. Well, today on the show, we're going to talk a little about prepay. As we go into this next year, you may be considering prepaying your inputs to lower your costs, and that's a great idea. There are several different benefits to prepay. We'll talk about that today, but we'll also talk about the risks.
Wish I had some good options for you that you could prepay for. Gall midge larvae. This is a new insect problem that we've just seen over the last few years. We're going to tell you more about this today.
We've got another tough to control weed of the week coming up later in the show, and iron talk as well. But first, here's this week's Farm Basics.
These days, it can be hard to make the math work in your soybean fields. With the LibertyLink system with Liberty herbicide, it gets easier. A 2+ bushel per acre advantage over Asgrow Roundup Ready to Extend soybeans means at least $18 more an acre for you. Plus, lower system input costs and more complete weed control all adds up to at least $33 more an acre for your farm. That's smart math. Grow smart with BASF.
Our goal at Ag PhD is to try to give you more and better information all the time when it comes to agronomy. We've had the Ag PhD TV show now for over 20 years. We've had the Ag PhD radio show for over 5 years. Well, in 2018, we also launched the Ag PhD Insider magazine, again, just to give you more details on great agronomy practices.
Well, this is one of the things that has always been big for us, is trying to get out timely information. So what issues are you having right now, and what are some of the new solutions that are coming out? And you've read about, all right, what's been done for 20 years? What are the guys doing right now? What are the high yield growers doing right now? This is the kind of information we want to get out there.
Yeah, and part of the thing too, why we wanted to do this is so now we can show you even more in terms of pictures and graphs, and also invite a few others to participate in this too. So Randy Dowdy, for example, he's had an article in the last few editions of the Ag PhD Insider magazine, and we've featured many different high yield farmers, had some equipment people in there doing a lot more in terms of pastures and some other crops. So there's a lot of great agronomic information in the Ag PhD Insider magazine.
Well, we do a lot of research as well. We like to talk about some of the things that we're working on, some of the exciting new concepts and new products that are coming down the pipe. And this is a good place for you to read a little bit more about them and to think about, all right, what do I want to try on my farm? And what's going to be a little bit different for me? So we hope we find you some ways to make some more profit on your farm too.
That's really what it always comes back to, making more profit. At the same time, obviously, we want to make sure we're doing the right things for the environment and the right things for your land as you move forward. Well, again, it's the Ag PhD Insider magazine. We'd encourage you to check it out at agphdinsider.com.
Now, one other thing we may talk about a little bit is our weed of the week. We'll show you how to control this tough weed on today's program. Stay tuned.
Tired of that old warped poly boom ruining your spray applications? Express Boom from Hypro is a fully assembled stainless steel boom that ensures an even application of chemicals every time. Don't wait another season, upgrade today. Hypro, helping you spray better.
There are 6,272,640 square inches in an acre. We counted. Why? Because we designed the TigerMate 255 field cultivator and 2000 series early riser planter to maximize every single one. So when you create the most level seed bed in the industry and target a nickel-size area to plant a seed and never miss, you'll know in high-efficiency farming, there's one name to count on: Case IH. Rethink productivity. Learn more at caseih.com/everyinch.
No two seasons are the same. Each brings its own set of challenges, and you've seen a few. So many threats, and not one single thing can be taken for granted. In the fight against the unpredictable, the Acceleron portfolio provides coverage on 4 fronts: fungicides, insecticides, nematicides, and bioenhancers. Rise stronger with one simple decision.
Leading the charge in strip tillage for more than a decade, the Soil Warrior brings the future to your farm today.
Morton is eager to make the building you've always dreamed of a reality. Visit us online at mortonbuildings.com.
Avoid dry run failures with the new Hi-Pro Force Field Pump. Providing the ultimate protection, this wet seal pump will save you on costly in-season downtime to keep your sprayer running. Now all you have to worry about is the weather. Hi-Pro, helping you spray better.
I remember when we were kids, about the only insect problem we ever had in soybeans was grasshoppers on a dry year. Now, we've got aphids, we've got bean leaf beetles, we've got Dectus stem borer, and a new one, gall midge larvae.
Yeah, we're really concerned about this because we don't know how to control it fully just yet.
Well, it's this little worm, and you think, well, we can kill little worms, that's no problem. Well, the problem is they're inside the soybean stem. So there's no way you're gonna spray a foliar spray and get on them. And the seed treatment insecticides like the neonic family, well, they've got no impact on the gall midge larvae.
Think about the gall midge a lot like wheat stem sawfly. We see a lot of wheat stem sawfly as we get to, say, Montana, for example. It's the worst pest problem you can have in wheat because it's these flies that don't feed on the wheat a lot. They just come to the wheat, lay their eggs, and then when those eggs hatch, they are inside the stem. So there's no way to really get at them, again, like Darren was saying, with a foliar insecticide like with the gall midge. Same type of thing here. So we've had farmers with wheat stem sawfly and now with gall midge trying to spray multiple applications foliar when that fly does show up. Now, if you time it right, you absolutely can reduce the pressure, but it's not getting 100% control.
When you think about the flies, a lot of times we're seeing this gall midge larvae in South Dakota, Minnesota, Iowa, Nebraska. I'm not aware of it getting outside of that region at this point, but it is moving significant distances every year. We saw gall midge 100 miles further west than we'd seen it this year, and also quite a ways further east too. So it's one that many of the state universities are really getting on top of, doing some research on, and it's just been a challenge because that tiny little fly, well, it flies over a few different week periods. So if you're getting out spraying like Brian was talking about, trying to foliar spray these little flies that are about the size of mosquitoes, good luck. You're gonna have to do it many, many times because many of the insecticides that we're using, they've got a little bit of residual, but not a lot of residual on the plants. Entomologists used to think, well, this bug is an opportunistic bug. It's laying on soybean stems that already have some sort of infection on them or some sort of wound, and they're just injecting their eggs into that wound. But what they've found now over the last couple of years is that's not the case. They're going into healthy soybean stems when the beans are really small. So they're only a few inches tall, and they're injecting. So you'll see a tiny little pinhole in the side of the stem, and inside you'll find these little worms.
Now the good news is a lot of times we just see it on the field borders. If it's limited to that, great. So that's what we're hoping for. And this too, if you were going to spray insecticide, means you don't have to spray a lot of acres. You could maybe hit your ditches, or at least the fence lines, and the outside few rows of your field, and maybe you don't have a widespread issue. What we're hoping for also as we move forward is there will be some insecticide we'll find that's systemic in the plant that does have activity on these worms. Otherwise, maybe there will be a BT solution someday, but for today, when you see gall midge, we would just suggest you report this to entomologists in your state so more of this can be studied and we can try to figure out what's really the best course of action.
And one last note, where we're seeing the worst problems is next to last year's soybean fields. So these little flies are typically moving into the field out of last year's soybeans or maybe out of the ditches or grass waterways. That's where I would concentrate my spraying efforts at. We normally don't see it across the whole field, or at least not as bad across the whole field. It's generally the worst towards the edges of the field.
We are certainly hoping you don't see any gall midge on your farm next year. We're also hoping you don't see our Weed of the Week, but if you do, we'll tell you how to control it later in the show.
Your planter is the single most important piece of equipment on your farm, because without a uniform stand, you can't reach maximum yield. That's why Harvest International set out to design a planter that takes advantage of the newest innovations in planter technology. Built tough for high speed and integrated with the latest precision enhancements, Harvest International planters ensure every seed you plant today puts more in your bin at harvest. Harvest International, planting the future.
College students often get the short end of the stick when it comes to paying for an education. I'm Darren Hefty with Ag PhD, and if you seek a career in agriculture, I have great news. My brother Brian and I are hosting our first ever Collegiate Agronomy workshop. In addition to agricultural information, we provide you the chance to walk away with a college scholarship. The best part? Attendance is free. The workshop is on Thursday, January 3rd at the Morton Center in Baltic, South Dakota. For more information and to register, go to agphd.com.
Are you looking for an easy way to apply dry powdered products to your stored grain? Do you want to use the applicator recommended by industry leaders for products like Diacon D and other dry powder products? Changing Time CT applicators successfully apply a diversity of products quickly, easily, and accurately. The innovative CT applicators are designed to give you the most accurate application of products such as talc, inoculants, fertilizers, and other dry products. For commercial use or on the farm, you need the applicator industry leaders are using. CT applicators for the changing times.
Ideal for herbicide applications, the ultra-low drifts large air-inducted droplets were designed to eliminate driftable fines without sacrificing coverage. Its thick three-dimensional pattern creates multiple angles for the spray to cover the target. Hypro, helping you spray better.
This Agro Liquid line is something special. A lot of really impressive playmakers. Take a look at Sure K. This guy is an enigma.
But wrap your head around the exceptionally high plant response when compared to conventional potassium sources, the research-proven plant availability, plus flexible application options and mixing capabilities.
Really stellar performance stats. Sure K is a true standout, and that's a winning goal on any field.
If you're looking to expand your farm's grain handling, you want everything to be fast and efficient. The Quick Belt from Norwood Sales is your all-around grain handling solution. Our conveyor-based system uses an 18-inch belt and a 10-inch tube, which minimizes seed damage while moving more than 10,000 bushels an hour. That's fast enough to fill a semi in 6 minutes. Plus, our hood is designed to gently direct the flow of grain straight down, keeping your crop in condition. Keep your grain and your farm moving with the Quick Belt from Norwood Sales.
When Darren and I were growing up on the farm, our dad would talk to us all the time about how we could make money on the farm. And he said, you've got to work really hard. Basically, you have to make money with your back. But if you want to do really well, you also have to make money with what he called the pencil. Basically, you had to use your brain and take advantage of some of the things money-wise that you could do on the farm that would give you a competitive advantage. For example, prepay. He talked to us quite often about you want to try to buy products at the best time of year. Well, with a lot of seed and crop protection products, and for that matter, even fertilizer, now is about the best time of year.
Well, think about it. Every acre on your farm, at least your plan is to get some seed put in the ground and to protect that throughout the season. You know you're going to use seed, you know you're going to use crop protection products, you know you're going to use fertilizer. So why not buy them, like Brian said, at the cheapest time of the year? Well, look at seed companies, for example. They've all got discounts in the fall and in the winter, encouraging you to prepay. Well, you could buy that same seed in the spring, give up all that cash discount that you could have had in the fall. No way. You're going to take the cash discount. You figure that out. If, let's just say it's 10% and you're going to use that for 6 months, well, that's 20% annual percentage rate. That's really good money. That's way better than leaving money in the bank. So it makes a lot of financial sense to make those calls early.
The other thing is with the government, the IRS, obviously you have to pay income tax. But one huge advantage we have on the farm, or at least on most farms, is we are able to use cash accounting. So in other words, if we've sold let's just say for easy math, we've sold $100,000 worth of crop and we had expenses of $50,000, leaving us $50,000 of net income. Well, if we want to lower that net income by $20,000, we can write a check at the end of the year for inputs like crop protection products, fertilizer, or seed. So you write a check for $20,000, and now we have lowered the overall net income to $30,000. Now, a lot of people say, well, you're just pushing it off, so why not just pay the tax now and have it over with? Well, here's the way I want you to think about this. Let's say you push it off for the next 20 or 30 years. You absolutely can do that. So how much is that interest on the money over a 20 or 30-year period? It's a lot of money. You get to use that money the whole time. So why would you not take advantage of that? And you got to think about this a little bit, and obviously work with your tax accountant, because you want to take advantage of, let's say, the lowest tax bracket. So you never want to go all the way down to zero probably for net income. You want to take advantage of the low tax bracket every year. But again, if you can push some of that income off to the future, you now have operating capital because you didn't have to pay that tax now. You get to pay it many years from now. So figure the interest on that and being able to use that operating capital, it's worth quite a bit.
Well, two things here, Brian. One other thing you didn't talk about is just, what if you have a bad year next year? What if you get some hail? What if you have a drought? What if your crop just doesn't yield very well? If you're pushing that off, hey, now you've got some options where, you know what? This is a year where I don't have much income. I can take some of that this year. So it could end up being a good thing for you. You just never know what the next year is going to bring. But the other thing that I'm a little concerned about, Brian, when you say prepay, is you got to know who you're prepaying it to. So if you're prepaying it to a local supplier, make sure they're in good financial shape before you do those things, because what happens if that local supplier goes broke? Well, that's not very good. So make sure that you know where you're prepaying to so your money is safe.
All right, so if you're worried about that, yes, number one, you want to know who you're prepaying to. But number two, you really could take the product right now. If you just say, you know, I'm kind of worried about this, all right, well, take the seed, take the crop protection, take the fertilizer, whatever it is, so now you don't have the money there, you have the actual physical asset.
Here's the other thing, Brian, when you're prepaying to a certain supplier, can you change your mind? Like, for example, let's just say the market right now tells me I want to plant more corn than soybeans on my farm. I'm going to go 80-20 with corn. Well, then the market changes a lot before planting time, and I decide, wow, I want to get back to my 50-50, so I want to buy more soybeans and less corn. Well, if you bought from a seed supplier that says tough luck, you bought corn, you're taking corn, that's not a very good place to prepay. You want to make sure that you can get that same prepaid discount no matter what you take, and that you can change those products up later in the season.
Just remember that before you prepay, you're the one in control. So we just really encourage you, before you write a check out, make sure you've asked all the appropriate questions. Yes, Darren talked about, all right, how about product switches? But what I think about also is, how about product reductions or price reductions? If the price goes down on something, will you get the lower price? How about if you don't need the product at all? Let's say you get flooded out, you don't need it at all, and you just want to return the product. Will you get interest on your money? Well, there are some places that do that. Make sure you're asking that question. How about any returns? Just flat out returns. Can I return the product, period? And if and when I do, will I get that money? Will you refund that money to me right away? Do I have to use it the next year in product? Do I have to wait a long time? Ask those questions now.
A couple other things to think about with prepaying, Brian. Here's one that I like the best. If I've prepaid somewhere, I can just show up and take product. And I could send somebody else. I could send my son, or I could send my dad, or I could send my wife. It's okay, because they don't have to write a check out or worry about the money. It's already taken care of. I like that part of it. I like not having that hassle in the spring. The other thing that I like is I get exactly what I want. When I see that hot new hybrid that I say, I've got to have a pallet of that this year, I'm going to get it because I'm the first guy that's going to order. I'm going to take advantage of the earliest order discount I can get, and I'm going to book that tight supply product to make sure that I get it. If I wait until spring to buy things, well, those things are going to be gone. I'm not going to get any of that hot new product. So if you want to get a specific product and you want to do it with no hassle in the spring when you're picking product up, I love prepaying.
All right, the last thing that I wanted to talk about is, how are you going to pay for this prepay? Well, you're either going to need to work with your banker, or there are many suppliers that will offer some type of financing program, usually through somebody like John Deere Finance or True Choice. I mean, there's several different programs out there and companies out there that will work with retailers. So anyway, you got to think about, well, how am I going to pitch my banker on this type of thing? And that's where you really want to run through the math and say, look, here's what I can save. Here's what it's going to cost me to borrow the money from you. So as you can see, this is a decent net return for me. And all the banker's really going to be concerned about is the financial stability of where you prepaid. We talked about that earlier. Again, if the banker's really that worried about it, just work something out with the retailer so you can take the product right away. Then you've eliminated that risk. Whether you're going to do this before the first of the year and take advantage of the tax breaks, or if you just want to prepay after the first of the year so you get a really good price and you're not worried about the whole tax thing, either way, we just want you to look at all these factors, make sure you're working with somebody you can trust, ask the questions first, all the questions like returns and if price goes down, all those types of things. So just get that all worked out. But all I can tell you is we do a lot of prepay on our farm. We find a lot of successful farmers are using prepay to their advantage. Run the math a little bit and you'll see, as long as you're working with somebody good that you can trust, this is a great way to go.
Prepay is certainly one of those things you want to consider on your farm. Another one is controlling our weed of the week. We'll show you how to do it coming up next.
The Weed of the Week is brought to you by Corteva Agriscience, Agriculture Division of Dow DuPont. Finish the fight against tough weeds with the Enlist Weed Control System.
Weeds are tough, but we're tougher. With unrivaled weed control, reduced drift, and near zero volatility. So, who's tough now?
Our weed of the week is common speedwell, which is a winter annual wheat. So you may have already seen it getting a good start on your farm this fall. You can get this thing under control early next spring. There's a lot of different options to control it, especially crop canopy. If you get a good crop canopy established, we don't see common speedwell really taking over in those areas. But if it did get a start last fall, you may have to deal with it in another way.
Yeah, Darren, we probably should have talked about this weed a couple months ago, so our viewers that have had a chance to get out in the fall. With winter annuals, if you can hit them in the fall, you're in a lot better shape because the weed is then small and much more susceptible. If you're going to go out and do fall spraying each year, I'd consider something like dicamba or 2,4-D.
All right, in the spring, in front of wheat, I like Sharpen and a burn down. You can do a nice job. You can also come back with wide match with Addition, Broad Spec, or one of those.
Yeah, the ALS products are pretty decent on this particular wheat.
Yeah, they're going to give you a nice boost. I don't really like the 2,4-D with wide match, but that's a topic for another show. When we look at corn, you can start off with something like Verdict Down. I like Sharpen over the top. In soybeans, you get so many options. If you're in Extend beans, I'd say Extendamax is probably the best on this weed of anything you're going to use. But if you're in Roundup Ready soybeans, you could use Roundup, or Liberty Link soybeans, use Liberty.
Well, let's face it too, with a winter annual, spring tillage a lot of times wipes this weed out. If you're using our 3 pre-program in conventional tillage, no problem. If you're using the 3 pre-program in no-till, yeah, you'll get some suppression on this. Probably won't be the best, so like Darren said, follow up with a good post-product.
That's all the time we have for our Weed of the Week, Common Speedwell, but Iron Talk is coming up next.
Out here, great yield starts with great weed control. That's why I choose the Roundup Ready Extend crop system, the system that makes the difference, because only I know what it takes out here. Yield's what it's all for. But keeping my fields clean all season, that's what it's all about. This is my field.
Farmers across the country have put their confidence in the Roundup Ready Extend crop system. These are their experiences.
That early weed control to help combat those weed species is vital. I'm excited to see the new Spray Early Bayer program, and we've had great success with XtendiMax tank mixed with Warrant and Power Max. And for 2019, I'm confident that part of the soybean yield success for our farm next year will include Roundup Ready to Extend.
And how about the big man, Pro Germinator?
Yeah, this guy's got some experience in the field. But look at his stats. You can't argue with those kind of results.
You're right. I know a lot of teams wishing their phosphorus player had those kind of numbers.
Right, but this guy's not just phosphorus. He's got the nitrogen, the potassium, the micros. All those just add up to his phosphorus game.
And his game is good.
At Estes Performance Concaves, we know how valuable your time is at harvest. That's why we designed the new XPR concave system. The XPR system is the #1 performance concave system on the market, surpassing the rest in both speed and efficiency, ensuring every last grain from your field gets into your tank. Plus, XPR concaves work for all row crops. No more changing concaves, meaning you have less downtime. Take back your bushels this harvest. Get Estes Performance Concaves in your combine today.
Iron Talk is brought to you by Case IH.
There are 6,272,640 square inches in an acre. We counted. Why? Because we designed the TigerMate 255 field cultivator and 2000 series early riser planter to maximize every single one. So when you create the most level seed bed in the industry and target a nickel-size area to plant a seed and never miss, you'll know in high-efficiency farming, there's one name to count on. Case IH. Rethink productivity. Learn more at caseih.com/everyinch.
How much wheat yield are you giving up when you drive over the crop? Drive down loss and 3 solutions for it are the topic of today's Iron Talk. We don't typically have big problems with weeds or insects in our wheat fields. Many years, we don't have a ton of disease pressure either. However, we are making multiple in-crop applications in our wheat fields every year. The good news is now we really don't have weed, insect, or disease problems, and we're getting higher yields. The bad news is that if we don't put in tram lines, we're going to run down some wheat. Montana State University a few years back estimated the yield loss from drivedown to be somewhere between 1 and 3.4 bushels per acre, depending on the spray boom size. So in addition to covering the cost of your equipment, any potential yield gain would also have to offset the drive-down loss as well if you didn't have tram lines. This leads us to the solutions for drive-down loss. First, aerial application can be used. The downsides are added cost, timing of application as the aerial applicators are generally in high demand, and the fact that hardly any farm operations can do aerial application themselves. The second solution to drive-down loss is getting a bigger spray boom. If you're still running a smaller sprayer, keep in mind that going from a 60 or 90-foot boom out to a 120-foot boom or even bigger results in fewer passes through the fields and less tracks. Finally, tram lines are a very simple solution to this problem. They can save you in drive-down loss and additional application charges. Tram lines give you the flexibility to make multiple passes through your wheat field for any type of application you may need. That's all for today's Iron Talk, and now back to the show.
We hope you've enjoyed our show for today. And if you're looking for more agronomic information over the course of this coming week, we'd encourage you to tune in to Channel 147. That's the Rural Radio channel. Our program, Ag PhD Radio, airs at 2 p.m. Central each weekday, where we answer your live phone calls and talk agronomy.
Well, listening to us on Sirius XM is fun, but don't miss the next Ag PhD TV show. We'll have another Weed of the Week, Farm Basics, Iron Talk, and a whole lot more. I'm Darren Hefty.
And I'm Brian Hefty. Thanks for watching Ag PhD.